Dispatch has now been fully released, and the last 4 episodes have quite a few twists and turns worth discussing. Before we go further, spoilers ahead, obviously, so tread carefully if you haven't played these yet. Let's get into it. Episodes 5 and 6 picked up right where the earlier tension left off, but they did something that caught me off guard. They slowed things down, almost deliberately. So I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time discussing these two. I'll save the majority for later, where I feel like most of the impact is felt. One of the first big beats in these 2 episodes was telling the team about how I was Mecha Man, which I understand can be nerve-wracking, especially when someone like Flambe will immediately try to kill you. Personally, I believe the key to open communication is to be honest with people, and if you believe that the Phoenix program was truly trying to be heroes, then it follows that being honest with them would be necessary to progress further. Then we get into Robert's moral limbo regarding Shroud. Chase asked a very poignant question: will I kill Shroud if given the chance? Should I? Could I? Typically, I follow a path where I try to spare everyone because I like having the moral high ground and knowing that I did the right thing. But at this point in the game, I didn't have a whole lot of information on Shroud, and I didn't know how the events would go down. There are a lot of factors that help in determining such a situation, but I'll save discussing the results of the choices for the end where I actually had to make them. But the biggest surprise in the slower stretch of episodes 5 and 6 was just kind of the waiting. The entire squad suspended in this awkward standstill while no one knows what the next move is. It's a weird space for a superhero team to sit in. It was really nice to have everyone get together for the housewarming party, but at the same time, going from the team building and mentoring immediately to the crux of the plot felt a little rushed. I understand there are only 8 episodes to the entire game, and they needed to start wrapping things up, but I definitely would have loved to have more time with just the Phoenix team in general. And oh my god, then there's the whole Invisigal situation, which there's a lot to discuss there. At some point across the last 4 episodes, I realized I definitely would have preferred the route with Blonde Blazer, even after having made that video about how suspicious she was. I will still defend my position to spend time with Invisigal in episode 4 over Blonde Blazer because I believe it was the right thing to do just as a pure friend. She was down in the dumps hurting over the whole thing, and she almost got cut. I totally defend, spending time with her over Blonde Blazer. But if I had to go back, I might have swapped that around. Anyway, this time around, I did try to keep my distance and maintain a proper mentor positioning. Something about starting a romance with Invisigal felt wrong, so it felt like I was taking advantage of someone who's vulnerable, and I didn't really want to be part of that. So let's talk about the MVP of these episodes, Trackstar. At first, I didn't understand his reluctance to trust Invisigal, but that man has sharper eyes than I do, because damn, he's truly a hero putting himself out on the line, especially going to save her after the events that occurred, and I think it was episode 6. I mean, what the hell? That combined with the intro to 7 giving us a backstory to Chase and Robert, it's so tragic that Chase's superpower ages him like that. Episode 7 as a whole is heavy. The whole thing delves into the setup and emotional low points for the team as the plot is set up for episode 8's payoffs. When I was asked whether to cut Invisigal after her stunt, I did think about it for a second, but like I said before, I don't like cutting people unless they've made a mistake so catastrophic it leaves a crater. I don't think trying to do the right thing recklessly warrants a catastrophic failure. I know some of the team wouldn't like my decision, but get over it. I'm the leader. Going into the decision, the game really tries to portray Invisigal in a negative, or at least suspicious light. I honestly thought all the character casting doubt on her was a little awkward. I never saw a defining moment that made me question her loyalties. Yes, she was reckless, but she ultimately seemed to be doing the right thing for, I guess, the right reasons. She genuinely seemed like a character wanting to be good. So I decided to let her stay. Not because she's without flaws, but because the story doesn't earn her being the supposedly dangerous presence. And then Shroud shows up, and holy hell, what an entrance. Goddamn. He's cold, quick, and calculated. It wasn't until halfway through the bar scene that I even realized Matt Mercer was voicing him, which retroactively made the whole thing 10 times more intimidating because I didn't even know what this scene was going for until it all clicked. Shifting from depressed guy drinking problems away to an immediate call to action, Shroud versus main character was amazing to say the least. That with learning Invisigal kept the power cell thingy, I think it was Astral Pulse to herself. Totally forgot what the thing was called. Did retroactively make the other character's suspicion of her at least somewhat realistic. pessimistic, but I still believed in her and never saw an inkling of evil in her eyes. Then as everything is throwing down and Robert's being beat up, Blonde Blazer saves the day. I think this is where I would truly felt like I made the wrong choice romantically. Maybe it was her reaction to Trackstar nearly dying. Maybe it was her steadiness under pressure. Maybe it was seeing her ideals without the glossy SDN veneer. She definitely felt like a real person with weight behind her choices, not just a suspiciously polished facade. All that being said, this was a very solid lead up to the finale episode. We have stakes, we have drama, and most importantly, we have more insight into the main villain Shroud after so many previous episodes without him. Transitioning cleanly out of the emotional wreckage of episode 7, we immediately are thrown into a more gameplay-focused gauntlet, mostly dealing with Sonar and the dispatch missions tied to him. And those attribute-restricted dispatches, painful as hell. I swear, the end screens exist solely to bully me. Gosh, even trying to heal heroes only to accidentally overreach one of those stats. I mean, my bad, gang, what the heck? But the high point is definitely the sequence where everyone comes together. It was definitely one of those traditional superhero tropes where everyone fights against the big baddie. Powers overlapping, titan coordination, frantic standoffs. Before talking about all the positives though, I do want to mention the one issue I had. These narrative choice games always have the same issue. The branching paths don't really branch. Not meaningfully. It was clear to me at this point that the choices on who to cut, who to spend time with, etc. didn't really mean anything other than the mini boss fight, like us fighting Sonar. Because in the end, everyone was fighting against Shroud. And again, this isn't a huge issue, but I've always longed for a game that avoids this feeling. Alright, that's enough doom and gloom, let's talk about the fun parts. Being the final fight in the game, there's a tension in the air that no one is saved. The nature of choice-based games always have these choose to save X or Y in them, and I was honestly scared that I would have to make a decision like that. Thankfully, that didn't end up happening, and what we got was 45 or so minutes of final fighting and resolution. And Trackstar getting Blonde Blazer's amulet in the middle of the fight, which I hadn't even learned about in this run, peak. A moment where the story finally gives this man the dignity, support, and love he deserves. He comes back at one of the most crucial moments possible, and I absolutely love seeing the energy within him again. Especially just the fact that he was still alive. Now for the villain, Shroud. He can predict so many possibilities of things happening, but he can't predict Invisigal doing the right thing. I mean, come on, that's one of the most predictable things out there. So how does he not see this one coming? Even after I fed him the real Astral Pulse, which supposedly powers him up, he didn't see that happening. It's a great scene, don't get me wrong, but it does leave a big question mark floating over his entire shtick. I'm also deeply curious what the endings look like if you give him the fake pulse or give him both. I avoided both of those because of the line where he says that he's already predicted all outcomes. He definitely got me on that because I gave him the real Astral Pulse, but I also had faith that even if I gave him the real one, there'd be a good ending. And shout out to the one stat that I'm genuinely proud of. I am apparently in the 4% of players who didn't cave to workplace romance. Maybe proud isn't the right word, because I definitely would have leaned into the one with Blonde Blazer given all events that occurred in the final 4 episodes, but I couldn't go down that path after I had already made the decision in 4. At the end of the day, these episodes cemented something important. Dispatch is absolutely one of the best narrative mechanic hybrids I've played. Definitely on par with Telltale's original The Walking Dead, maybe better even. I don't typically do number ratings because they feel a little reductive to me, but I loved logging in every single Wednesday to see what chaos the game would throw at me. Should you try it out? If you've got the time and money, absolutely. Definitely worth it if you like narrative-driven games. If y'all have any games that you want me to review next, please let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe or give a comment. I'd love to hear from y'all. Peace.